Greetings from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry, and I want to start out this video with a little tip about basil. I got this tip from another gardener on YouTube. I wish I could give you his channel, but I was watching the video in the car on my phone, and I did not save his site. So this is not my idea. It is actually somebody else's, but it's a great idea. If you ever buy basil from the grocery store in these little pots so that you can sit it in your window and just pick it off as you need it, usually there's basil, they have parsley, basil, and sage normally. And these great little convenient pots, but almost every time I've bought them, they die. In fact, as you can see already, this one's getting black leaves, it's starting to wilt, although it's been sitting in a sunny window and it's been getting its fair share of moisture. It doesn't matter, it's dying already. So what I want to do is show you why it's dying and what you can do about that. First of all, it's not just one plant. If you count it and you look inside here, and you will see that there are actually 11 separate plants in this one little pot. Now this pot was $2.99, but I've got 11 basil plants in here. So let's just take it out and look at it. So there we have all these little roots fighting in competition for the nutrition in the soil. They're going to be really struggling to stay alive. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate these plants and give them their own pots until they're ready to go in the garden or maybe back in the windowsill. What I'm going to do is separate these plants, put them in their own separate pots until they're ready to go in the garden. These do not like cold. I've already killed one basil plant in the garden because it got too cold. So I'm not going to put these outside yet, but I'm going to split these plants apart, put them in their own pots, and then just have 10 or so separate basil. So we're just going to very carefully break it apart, little by little like this. That's really a pretty good deal, $2.99 for basil that's well on its way to growth, except that you're getting so many plants here. So here I've got, as you can see, it's really pretty easy to do. Just very gently pry it apart. And here you've got one lovely, lovely little basil right here, just ready to go into a pot. My dog is snoring again. That is Liam. Liam is 12 years old. He's a Great Pyrenees. He's 12 years old. He's actually in pretty good shape for an old boy. He's got arthritis. And so do I. But he's still got a really good appetite. And he's still a pretty happy guy. I think we'll just leave these two. We'll be fine. These two will be just fine left together. And now here I've got, look, 4 more. I might just leave them in doubles. There we go. All right, so I could split that apart, but I don't need that many basil plants, to be honest with you. If I did want to split these apart, maybe give them away, could easily do that, as you can see right there. There you go, see? Nice little roots. I'm going to end up putting them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 pots, because some of these I have left together. It's just the easiest thing in the world. I've got some nice compost right here. I've dug a nice deep hole in the pot. I drop this one right in and then fill it in on the top. When these are ready to go outside, put them in the herb garden and the vegetable garden on the slope. And I think I'll just pop one in the window too. There, I think this would be a lot happier now. Transplanted the basil into several different pots. I put 3 in the large pot that probably stay on the porch. I put several in these 3 pots here. These will end up going into a garden when it gets warmer. And these 2 in this pot will probably go in the windowsill. Oh, there's another chicken, part of the video. And that's the nesting box here. Up there in that great big beautiful green barn that you can see from here, I hope, is a chicken area with high perches and an 8-box nesting box, big enough for many, many hens to lay their eggs. Now those girls used to be so good, and the roosters, about sleeping in the barn every night on their perches and laying eggs every single day in the nesting boxes. But one day when I went up there to get eggs, I reached my hand in and I touched a slimy thing, and it turned out it was a black snake. And the black snake had eaten all the eggs, and ever since that time, the chickens won't sleep up there, and they will not lay their eggs in the nesting box. Last year, they have been fighting over laying eggs, either somewhere weird on the porch, or in this kitty basket, which belongs to a kitty cat, at least it did. So I took this kitty basket up off the porch, I raised it up onto this cupboard so they would have something high and safe to nest on. And I have been dealing with that for about a year. It just wasn't enough for 6 laying hens. And I built this crazy looking, very primitive nesting box. I just used old wood, anything I could find up in the barn, some old spindles from the stairway, some excess roofing that we had, and these old stars from an antique building from when I lived in Colorado. It's pretty primitive, I know that, but that's the way I intended for it to be. Nothing elegant here. But then again, my chickens are not very elegant. They're just country gals. So they like it. They've been in it. This morning, I've got several eggs to show for it. So it was well worth the effort. And it wasn't much effort either. I just made it in one day. Well, Ruby and 4 others have discovered the new nesting box. So we're finally getting eggs again. What's going on? What's going on? I thought you might want to come and check out how these Tasha Tudor seeds were doing for me. These were the ones I planted a few weeks ago. This is the tray of lupins. I did decide to put them in the pink tray. Out of 35 seeds, I've only got about 14 germinating at this time, so that's a little bit disappointing. And then my friend, she sent me some. These over here are bellflowers, and you can just barely see these are coming up. Little tiny seedlings, if you can see them. Those are doing much better than the lupins. In the middle row, I only see 1 germinating primula. So, patience, patience. They're in the greenhouse. It's not a heated greenhouse. My experiment with the clay pots and the wool is really not that successful because the pots are still drying out like crazy. So I will take the advice of one of you who suggested putting tung oil on the pots. So far, I'm not thrilled about that. So that didn't work out. A lot of things don't work out. Just got a lot of slow germination and a lot not going on. For example, here's a pot with hyssop. Got to thin that out a little bit. Everything in this side is perfectly growing, and the other, nothing on this side. Just about nothing on this side. The sweet peas are doing good. These were painted in the cocoa, planted in the cocoa core mix of lupins, my lupin seed, and here we are again. The germination rate is about half. But they are growing. You know what I noticed is the ones that I planted directly in the garden are growing beautifully. The ones I planted in these trays are like this, about half and half. successful planting bulbs, but this is a plant that has eluded me for 2 years. I hope this is the fritillaria. Some people call them fritillaries, but I just sound out the word and it looks like fritillaria to me. But anyway, whatever it is, I planted 200 of them in this garden this year and 200 last year. This is all I have to show for it. And I hope that these are the fritillarias or the fritillaries. I hope that's what they are. Maybe you can tell me. I just am keeping my eye on this little corner. There's only about 10 of them in here out of 200 bulbs. Okay, this is what the oriental poppies did last year. They grew and grew and grew and grew. Lots and lots of foliage. But they never produced a flower. Now it's still cool outside, so I'm still hoping for some buds before it gets too hot, and these just die right down to the ground. In this garden, we have some absolutely marvelous success. In fact, I might have to thin these out a little bit. These are annual poppies. These are bread seed poppies, and you can see that they are just going strong. I sowed these in January. I just threw the seed right here in this little strip in the garden. And I think I've got just dozens and dozens of them coming up in here. Poppies don't transfer very well. I might experiment with a few because I really probably have to thin these out a bit. So I'm going to have to pull some up anyway. So I will try to transfer them into another garden, and I will let you know if that worked out. Where I come in the spring garden, I just have to talk about the Virginia bluebells. I just think these are the prettiest spring bluebells in the garden. And that's because they're not just blue, they're pink, they're lavender, they're azure, and they're pure blue. These ones are wilting now, but they generally last for about 2 weeks from the time they start opening. For those of you that don't know, this is Godfrey. This is our Great Pyrenees. He's about 1.5 years old now. And we're really sad today because his little brother passed away yesterday. Unfortunately, he managed to get outside the fence and, well, he was hit by a car. So we're going to miss little Gabriel. Right, bud? Yeah, we'll get over it, though, won't we, buddy? Yeah, good boy. Good boy. We love you, buddy. We love you, buddy. Pots to fill here in this little garden room. I don't think most of them have nothing in them. I wanted to sit here for a few minutes because I want for you to hear something that's going to come by in about a minute. It's going to sound like a train going past, but it's actually a car. This is one of the quiet ones. This is a little country road, believe it or not. And yet, lots of cars go past here every day. They're going up over the mountain. It's a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit on that road. But people race down there as if this were the Grand Prix. Now, I've lost a lot of animals living here in the country, lots of animals. And this has been a particularly sad year. I started out with 13 ducks, and now we're down to 8. Where did they go? I have no idea. They just disappeared. I also lost 2 geese this year. But the biggest loss of all was our dog. Somehow he got out. He got into the road, as I mentioned before. We weren't home. And he was hit by a car, we believe. The car threw him into a ditch. And when we found him, he was alive and he had some bruises on his stomach because that wasn't the only thing that happened to him, but I won't go into that. We brought him in the house, and it was late at night. We didn't know what to do. We treated his wounds. But he must have had internal bleeding because the next day he died. And it was really heartbreaking to me because that was little Gabriel, our little guy. He was only a year old. You've seen him. He had a beautiful little black face, a very fun and lovely puppy. Is that if the driver had been going the speed limit, 15 miles an hour, or even 20 miles an hour, or even 25 miles an hour, they could have avoided hitting the dog. Now, the dog shouldn't have been out. Absolutely not. But we do have 5-foot fences, and I have no idea how he got out. I just do not know how he got out. In this video on a sad note, and I'm not trying to elicit any pity from anyone. I'm sure many of you have lost a dog or a cat or some animal that you absolutely loved and was part of your family. So you know what I'm talking about. It's just a cautionary note for people to please be careful when you're driving in an area that's close to somebody's house and you know they have animals. So anyway, life will go on for the rest of us, and maybe sometime, I'm not sure, we might get another puppy for Godfrey because he's still pretty young and he really does need a companion. But I'll let you know. In the meantime, from Hopalong Hollow, chin up. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time. Jerry.